special guest. We are bringing you Alfredo Martinez, really experienced Mexican demonic sorcerer and the owner of the group Dark Sorcery, the best Facebook group ever regarding dark magic and the occult, and one of the oldest gold Facebook groups out there. This is a Facebook group which created a bunch of occult community influencers, which were usually not so grateful to this guy. But he left undeniable mark on the occult community, and he is also a really chill Mexican motherfucker, experienced in dark sorcery, demon magic, and Mexican sorcery. So, okay, Alfredo, can you tell us how you started practicing? What's your magic motto? Like, what are you about?
So basically, a little bit about my background. I grew up in a Pentecostal Christian home. Wasn't really too interested in spirituality growing up. I just kind of went to church. But then I had like paranormal stuff happen around me, voices, stuff moving in front of me, footsteps, etc. So I decided to look into different types of spirituality, different religions, and eventually I started studying the occult, and then I started practicing what was in there. My earliest books I started working with was Modern Magic by Donald Michael Craig, some stuff from the Golden Dawn, and then it just progressed from there to where I'm at now. But that's basically how my magical journey began.
Okay, so maybe this will be a weird question for you, but I am really interested in your experience, like spiritual experience within Pentecostal church, because Pentecostals are known to engage in practice of possession by God. So I wanted to ask, do you have any experience with that, or have you seen anybody doing that? Or
Well, yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I want to say thank you for the compliment in the opening. I just want to get that out there. But as far as experience with that, I would always see people in church be slain in the spirit. Not like every Sunday, but it would happen often. And you're familiar with what that is, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, take for instance, if I'm with my youth group and you know, they call us to go to the altar and they're praying over us and they're all falling down. They could never get me to do it. They would always put their hands on me and stuff because I always thought it was strange. Something about me said, people actually believe this crap. But then another part of me said, don't question God. You know how it is when you have that religious mindset. I mean, as I became more devout, probably back in 2003, around that time. Yeah, I would pray for people. I would put my hand on them, not intending for them to fall over or do something odd, but they would, I have felt power go through me, through my hands, like from my inner being through my hands. I have felt something similar to that, but it's not, I didn't have like any, established blueprint for doing anything spiritual at that point. It was kind of hit and miss. I would, when you're involved in prayer for 30 minutes to an hour, and you're focused and you have an intent, stuff will happen. But I didn't really have a formula down of how energy works until I started studying the occult. Then I was able to get a formula down of, ritual and as far as energy flow and stuff like that. But while I was in the Pentecostal church, it was kind of just hit and miss. And yeah, I was pretty devout, went door to door, ministering, praying for people, bringing them to in the church, that type of thing. But that's about, I guess that's how I would answer that question for you as far as experience in the Pentecostal church.
Okay, so can you tell me, like, what is your opinion of those experiences now? What do you think is happening?
I think that I think a lot of them are just trickster spirits. You know, like people are opening their mind, and you know, to sometimes to maybe you know, they say this is the Holy Spirit, you know, but I would say it's a spirit, you know. Half the time it's people just wanting attention, you know, and then the other half the time it's just a trickster spirit in them, making them do strange things. But that I was always pretty evasive with what they call the Holy Spirit. It just something just didn't rub me the wrong way about it. You know, I mean, there was a time when I was devout seeking after that, but it just didn't seem right to me. It just didn't. It just I felt out of place growing up. Basically, is what I would say. I didn't, you know, in my church, I had tried to do everything they said, but I felt out of place. Like ultimately, this is a part of me said this is not where you belong. So this, you know, I can't say I have a good relationship with the Holy Spirit, you know. So that's how I would answer that.
So, like, what are some of the most interesting things you saw in a Pentecostal church? Like, things happening in real life. Like what is the most
Okay, so I
you saw?
remember. So check it out. I remember one time. I remember one time there was a time probably around the year 2001. You know, I was prejudiced. I admit I was prejudiced because um, growing up uh, growing up in a Mexican family, sometimes we were treated differently. Take for instance, if like say if we moved to a new house or a new area, um, some people would some people would look at us and be like fucking spicks, or they would be like they would just treat us different because we were different. We weren't white. Um, and my family had experienced racism, and that made me very angry growing up when I thought about how my family had been mistreated and myself at times. So then I started developing this hatred for white people. So back around 2001, I went to a church service with my family. It was at a different church. There was a special speaker there, and he, you know, he had preached a sermon, and I was sitting in the seat and in my seat, and he said he looks over at me while on the stage, and he goes, come up here. So I went up there, and he looked at me, and he goes, you have a demon in you. And I kind of looked at him puzzled. He goes, lift up your hands. Lift up your hands. So I lifted up my hands. Then he goes to the church. Everyone, stretch your hand out and pray for him. You know, so everyone stretched out their hand towards me, and then he put his hand on my head, and then he just started like commanding whatever was in me to leave. And I felt this energy go inside me into my shoulders, shot right out my arms, and it's like something really came out of me, and I was just kind of like dazed for a little bit, and then I opened my eyes, and I'm like, I felt like I had been exercising for a long time, and I was just tired all of a sudden, and then I was relieved, like a big, you know, weight had been lifted off my chest. And then after that, my hatred was gone. I could look at anybody, no matter what their race is, and be cool with them. But I think that sometimes, you know, when it comes to stuff like that, I think maybe people can get certain attachments if they're around a lot of negative energy or negative thoughts that can kind of attach to them and kind of encourage them to act in a certain way and to be hatred or be hateful in certain ways. So I do like working with the demonic, but you know, I know I know who I'm working with, and I know the type of energy that I work with now is something that's beneficial to me and I feel comfortable with. Back then, you know, I was just very confused and had a lot of negative thoughts. So I think that kind of allowed something negative to attach itself to me that I didn't know or understand, and tried to suck the energy out of me at the same time and take advantage of me. But I just remember that experience very vividly. And after that, you know, that kind of opened my eyes to where, you know, there is, you know, spirituality for sure is real, you know, that stayed in the back of my mind when I left the church and started looking into other stuff. But, you know, as far as, you know,
So you
strange things,
definitely,
go ahead.
so you definitely left the Pentecostal church.
Well,
You
yeah.
saw crazy church was there, but it wasn't for you. Okay. Can you tell us now how you like started working with the demonic specifically? Because that's kind of mostly what you do.
Okay. So, um, like I was saying, like earlier in my practice, you know, I would do like Golden Dawn type rituals and stuff like that, and you know, kind of like in the angelic energy, you know. But when I had started working with the demonic, I felt comfortable. You know, I felt like this is where I belong. Um, Basically, I had gone from Golden Dawn to, well, then I started working with Middle Eastern deities. I started working with Astarte and Chemosh and, you know, these other Middle Eastern deities. And then from there, I branched out to um, Belial. And, but basically it was just, you know, well, I'm just going to try this. Okay. I see the result. I see the results of what happened. Let me write it down. Now I'm going to try this, and now I'm going to try this. And eventually, after working with the demonic, that's where I just felt comfortable. So that's kind of where I stayed. Now, in recent times, I have gone back to you know, books that I maybe have read in my earlier days, and kind of just to, because I believe that we can learn from everything, you know. From time to time, I do like to, you know, flip through Israel Regardie's Golden Dawn magic book, you know, with that goes from up to Adeptus Minor. I just like, I think there's a lot of good stuff in that, you know. I'll read, sometimes I'll flip back through Modern Magic and study, but ultimately I feel comfortable just with that demonic energy. I just feel at home. So does that answer your question?
Yes, that answers my question. But can you describe to our audience what is the first demonic ritual you did and how it felt? What is like that a fiery baptism, if you will, for you in demon magic?
Um, I had started to so I started working with the darker aspects in Middle Eastern magic, and I remember just call it. Basically, it was just a ritual to strengthen myself, and I felt the energy. And when I had two candles set up on my altar, and I started speaking, and every time I would shout, the candle flames would shoot up, like, and they were like, let's say the candle was this high. When I would shout, the candle flames would go and like go like all the way up, almost up to the ceiling, you know, and it kind of tripped me out. I was like, wow, you know, because I hadn't seen that happen before in magic, you know. But and then another notable experience is just contacting Belial for the first time, and then I don't want to get into specifics, but basically my life was just turned right upside down, and but at the same time he let me know that, hey, I'm here for you. You know, sometimes I may teach you things and show you things and open doors for you in a very direct way, but you know, I know, but it's like I got your back. You know what I mean? So I would say, yeah, that when those candle flames just started shooting up, that was a unique experience for me. And not only that, but I had I had seen results, right away, and it's very powerful.
Okay. So, can you like talk more about your work with Belial and how it's going, and what are like the characteristics of working with?
So I do have an altar at home, permanent altar set up to him, and he does tend to, sometimes I'll hear footsteps, and sometimes he'll walk around and stuff. You got to keep in mind that I'm still learning a lot of stuff. So at the moment, I'll do an invocation every now and then, give him offerings. But I can feel like in the, like, say if I invoke him, I can feel like I'm changing inside. You know what I mean? I may get a headache or feel pressure in certain areas, but I know that that's kind of like the energy kind of changing me for the better. Does that make sense? Um, that's just where I'm at right now. But and I'm there's things that I'm being taught. I wouldn't right now, by reading various books, I wouldn't say that. I would say more like, I have to give him credit because he had said, make your life the ritual. So it's like my life is a ritual. Whereas, like, take for instance, I can steer life in the direction that I want by using numbers. So, take for instance, if I'm, let's say if I'm driving and I got something on me and I don't want to get pulled over, I'll turn the radio on, but I'll make the numerology add up to a number 6 so that I get away with it. You know what I mean? Or if I pull up to a gas pump, I'll pull up to number 8 to keep it going forever. You know what I mean? I'll just, if I want stability in my life, I will do things in 4s so that stable energy will come to me. So I'm constantly calculating in my head and using numbers. And also you give energy with your right hand and you take energy with your left, or what I mean. So I try to do work with energy that way in everything that I do. I'll take if I find money on the floor, I'll put it in my left pocket, and say an incantation. I'm constantly saying incantations and calculating numbers in my head and acting accordingly to how I want the result to be. So you could say my life is in Belial has showed me different things like that, to where in that regard, I am using my life as the ritual. I am constantly shifting energy where I want it to go based on numbers and energy work, the way the human body responds to energy and energy flow. So, but then again, if I do need to do a ritual, I will just piece something together. I may go ahead and open up a book and, follow this step, follow that step. That's what I did earlier on, but now I just kind of piece stuff together that I need at the moment, and then just do it, and then I get the results. But that's basically an explanation of my spiritual life right now and how I work with energy every day.
Okay, so I started think, right? There was definitely-
I'm sorry, it was I didn't hear what you said.
I started studying numerology recently, and there is definitely a power to it, enormous power. And like I kept seeing through my life a number 27.
Mhm.
Like 27 is like big thing for me for whatever reason.
Yeah,
Like it just shows up for 27. So
right.
can you like tell me more about
Tell you more about what? It kind of went quiet. About the number 27?
27?
So 27. Okay, so 27, that adds up to a 9. So if I was to see the number 27, I would in my head I'd be like, okay, something is coming to an end because the number 9, that represents kind of an ending, but then something begins again. So that's what I would. But also the numbers that add up to it also carry influence on the number as well. So the number 2, you could say, kind of the scales balance. 7, the number 7 is it's a good number, but something like say with the number 7, it symbolizes something good can happen, but it takes a lot of work to get to it. So like take for instance the slot machines, it takes a lot to get 777 and hit a jackpot. You know what I mean? Um, so if I looked at 27, I would say that tells me that something is coming to an end that I've had to I've had to work hard at for a long time to get results, and something new is coming in to replace it, some kind of something new. So
Okay.
that's how I would
So
interpret the
basically,
number 27.
well, yeah, okay. So I personally see 27 for years. And so when I do magical chants of any kind, spirits are insistent that I do them in 9s and 27s. Like and this is something which, like, it's like that for years. When I chant anything, let's say I chant Lilith's chant, Hallelujah Mahashadim. I chant it 3 times 9, which is 27. And it just goes in 27s. They just basically told me to do things in 27s.
Right.
Do you think maybe I'm just like asking you a question. Do you think that they tell me to do stuff in 27s because they are destructive? And so when you do chants to destructive spirits in destructive numbers, it kind of adds up, or am I just like theorizing? Maybe I am wrong.
I think it's um I would say I would guess theorizing, but then again, I'm not, uh, I didn't receive word from them. So um I would say it's just theorizing, but that does kind of make sense. I mean, if they're destructive, and then you kind of have the 2 and the 7 to kind of, because though 2 and 7 are not negative numbers, you know what I mean? So that maybe that kind of balances things out and allows better energy flow. You know what I mean? Because if you have a positive charge and a negative charge, the energy is for sure going to flow. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's just my guess on that.
Okay. So in the beginning, right? You said that you use like number 6, right?
Right.
If you want to get away from being pulled over. So can you
Yeah.
explain to me like a rationale behind using 6 to get away with pullovers?
I can't explain exactly why it works. I just know that from experience, that's the energy that it tends to carry. Um, and that goes with anything. I mean, there are not certain numbers that I use all the time. I use any numbers depending on the situation that I'm in. Um, but yeah, all I can say about the number 6 is I don't completely. I'll go ahead and say I am not an expert in numerology. I'm still learning myself, but that number just seems to carry that energy. And that's about all I can say about that right there.
Okay. So can you actually like explain, if you can, like basics of like first 9 numbers, if you can, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like,
So number one, so let's say so I'm gonna get some of them. I'm gonna give examples of. So it's number one, to be number one, the center of attention. So let's say if I'm watching a movie with somebody and I want them to pay attention, I will turn the volume to, let's say, I will turn the volume to where the numbers will add up to a 1, so that person will pay attention. You know what I mean? Now I don't turn on number 1 if I'm driving. If, like, let's say I got something on me or I'm driving, I don't want to be the center of attention. So I won't have it on a 1. Number 2, I always see that as being balanced. Number 3 is very strong and powerful. So if you look at a triangle, it has 3 sides and it's an unbreakable shape. It's very, very powerful. So if I want something to stay and something to be very, very unbreakable, I will do it in 3s. Okay, number 4, that's stability. You take a look at, on a chair or a table, there's 4 legs. It's stable, you know what I mean? But at the same time, if you keep on the number 4 on something, yeah, it'll be stable, but it can tend to get boring, to where you get bored. Number 5, that number I try to stay away from, because it just doesn't, success just is not in it. It's the number 5, you'll constantly just be battling. Now number 5, you can enjoy things. I guess it's kind of like a dopamine number. I know how other way to put it. But that's why people who have the number 5 strong in their life tend to be drug addicts, because they want to constantly seek pleasure, but not get out of that, that hold. You know what I mean? And they're just constantly battling and don't have good luck. Number 6, of course, getting away with stuff. Number 7 is a good number. However, it takes a lot of work to get to where you want to go. Number 8, infinity. So if I want something to keep going, I'm going to do it at number 8. Like I said, if I pull up to a gas pump, I'm going to pull number 8, and fill my tank up so that gas will last a long time. Number 9, ending. So if you want something to come to an end, do it in 9s. And yeah, like I said, I'm constantly calculating in my head and doing things according to numbers, because everything is a number. I mean, I believe the movie The Matrix has it right when it says that we're living in a simulation. We are living in a simulation, from my experience, the way I see it. And so if we're living in a simulation, everything is a number. It's like if you're in a video game, every time that character moves on the screen, it's a number. It's a math number. So if we live in a simulation, you can constantly steer things the way you want to go just by paying attention to the numbers. And if you get into magic, let's say you have a magical library, and some of those books are, let's say, your code books in the game, to where you can hack reality through ritual and steer it in the way you want to go. If numbers aren't working, like say if numbers aren't working for me fast enough, or I just need to do ritual if numbers ain't doing the job alone. But yeah, that's my explanation of basics using numbers 1 through 9, and then constantly applying energy work to them. That goes like, let's say if I have a candle going and I want to say an incantation, if the spell is for stability, I'm going to say an incantation 4 times. If I want something to end, I'm going to say the incantation 9 times. If I want something to be strong and powerful and unbreakable, I'll do it 3 times. You know, and I will do things different times in the rituals based on numerology, and that will really help give the spell a strong kick.
Okay. So basically, you just incorporate numbers and counting into everything, and you found that it gives amplifier to everything done in magical ritual, and you explained
everything you do. Yeah. And then definitely applying to your magical practice, you know, in your ritual work. You know, yeah, that is true.
Okay, so what numbers correspond to Belial and why, in your opinion?
You know, I'll be honest, I don't know what numbers correspond to him. Yeah, he is teaching me things, but I'll admit that in certain areas, you know, I'm still learning, so I wouldn't be able to answer that. He shows me things step by step, you know, as far as, you know, numerology and working specifically, you know, as far as what numbers correspond to him. I don't know yet. I'll just have to say that. I'll be honest. I don't like to work with a lot of different spirits. You know, I don't like to attach my energy to, you know, random, you know, this spirit and that spirit and that spirit and that spirit. In the beginning, I used to do that, but nowadays I only limit it to a certain few. You know, I don't, you know, I don't know. I wouldn't consider myself like the smartest person in the occult. All I can do is, you know, stuff that's helped me and stuff that I've learned, you know, I can apply that and teach others what's worked for me, and then just go based on that. And then at the same time knowing that I still have a lot to learn, you know, and this is just learning is just a lifelong journey, you know.
Okay, so can you tell us something which I'm really interested in, which is how the entire Dark Sorcery group started and what you guys are doing right now, and you know
Yeah.
how that entire thing started.
Okay, so I remember back in, let's say, 2015, up until that point, I had not gotten on social media. Like, I thought social media was just stupid. Um, every time I would see somebody get on Facebook on their phone or whatever, I would just kind of roll my eyes, and I just thought it was ridiculous, because, you know, growing up there was no social media. You know, there was no YouTube, there was no, you know, everyone still used books and really didn't, most people didn't get on the internet. You know, it was kind of a new thing, so it just seemed foreign to me. So I was, you know, one of my friends, uh, one of this guy I had made friends with at a job I was working, he goes, "Hey, you have Facebook?" I said, "No." So he grabbed my phone out of my hand, made me an account. He says, "Here, check it out." So I'm like, "Okay, whatever." So I just kind of went on there, and I started to dig it. You know what I mean? I said, "Okay, well, you know, this ain't so bad. This is kind of cool." And then I realized that there was an occult community, and so I thought that was interesting. I started, you know, joining different Facebook groups, occult Facebook groups, and, you know, adding friends and stuff like that. But I had a very, very strong passion to tell my story and just tell my side of spirituality, and the fact that I had felt more comfortable with uh, the demonic. I said, okay, well, I'll just call this dark sorcery. So I started a group, called it that. I went in all the Facebook groups, and I just spammed the hell out of them. I didn't care. I wasn't shy either. I just kind of just threw it out there. Hey, check this out, check this out. And, you know, promoting. And I did that for so long that it started to grow and grow and grow. And different people, different occultists in the community started pouring in. And then there are, you know, certain people who came along that are, you know, a lot of people who are actually very well known in the community actually got their start there. So what I wanted to do was make a team is a kind of, as I expanded, I wanted a team to help me run everything because it was hard. So from Facebook, then I made a dark sorcery, Instagram, and then, you know, and started expanding in all these areas. So I just thought, well, I'll just, you know, see who's all in here in this group and people I can trust and see if they'll help me run everything. And I started, you know, putting an admin team together to help run the group, and kind of check on the platforms from time to time. And it just grew. It grew. I will give credit to D.H. Thorne. He was a big influence. So was Caitlin White, or Magus Catrice, as she goes by sometimes. She was a big influence in having that grow. I remember when me and Thorne were talking, and he had given the suggestion of going on YouTube, and I said, okay, well, that sounds like a good idea. Let's go for it. So he went ahead and you know, created this YouTube channel, and we all kind of just started putting content on it, and so I would kind of like, so sit different members of the team, and, you know, I'd be like, okay, had this idea. Let's all just have our own playlist on there and just throw videos up. So we did, and then just the YouTube was when everything started really blowing up, because then I was able to advertise all the platforms, and then, you know, people go to the Facebook, the Instagram, and so forth, and it just kind of became this big network. And I like the fact that, you know, people were getting help and people were able to ascend based on the information that we were giving. So yeah, man, that's basically how it started. And it just branched out from there and just became the network that it is today. But yeah, so let's see, now we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Twitter/X, and Pinterest. And so, yeah, those are constantly updated.
Okay, okay. So can you tell us, like, what is the essence of dark sorcery as a craft? What makes it? What is the current which underlines dark sorcery as a whole, as a craft, as a way of life?
Basically kind of cutting all the bullshit and getting right to, you know, right, being straight up, you know, like, because, you know, like in that current, like the demonic, like they're very straight up in teaching you, you know what I mean, and can actually make your life turn upside down and be very chaotic, but at the same time there are very valuable lessons learned in that. So in a nutshell, I would say what it symbolizes is kind of cutting all the bullshit, getting right to the point and straight up, and just accomplishing what you want based on that. That very direct, straight up, no bullshit type energy, you know, in anything you do. Tough love, as some people would put it, you know. So yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does answer my question. Because, you know, you are kind of right. Demons really do a lot of the tough love. They are really adversarial teachers. They teach to adversity. But I want to point out that there is a difference between working with demons and simply not having your shit together. A lot of people mix those two, you know, because I know a lot of guys and girls especially girls, but it's prevalent with motherfuckers too. They just don't have their shit together, and they blame it on demons. You know, they date toxic people and they blame it on demons. They have
Yeah.
issues with self-control and they blame it on demons. What is really meant by working with demons is hard is the ritual itself is dense, hard, and stressful. Like if you think that you are like going to do a ritual with demon and you are going to relax, bro, you are in for a rude awakening, because it's not a relaxing activity, it's not a leisure, it's a form of martial art, but for the soul, for the spirit. And it stresses you, it pressures you, it exposes you to dark energy. And that's what is really meant by, its adversarial spirit. It doesn't mean that you won't have your shit together, like money or relationships or whatever. When I see people not having their shit together, they simply don't have their shit together. It has nothing to do with demons. I just want to point that out, because
Mm.
like, there's a lot of like, in the occult community, I noticed that there's a lot of like professional victims. They would not have their shit together, and then they would play the victim and say that it's like a natural consequence of them working with demons, and so they are so special. That's why they don't have their shit together. That's the reason, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, you
And
have to be grounded and really know who you are and have looked inside and if you don't have your shit together, you can't help someone else get their shit together. That's just how it is. So I definitely know what you mean.
okay, so that's kind of what we agree on. So
Mhm.
can you tell us like your craziest experience with Belial? Like something kind of crazy for people to kind of hear.
Um, all I don't want to get into specifics, but but basically it would be the equivalent to uh, someone putting a gun to your head and saying, "Grow, motherfucker, grow now." I mean, my life when I started working with him just got very, very chaotic and intimidating, and still to this day it is to a certain degree. Um, but that's his way of teaching. For personal reasons, I can't really say what happened, but like I said, it would be the equivalent of someone putting a gun to your head and say, "Grow, grow, motherfucker, now." You know. But yeah, that's my answer to that question, man. There's certain things that I can't say and that he wouldn't want me to say anyway, but that's how I would answer that question.
Okay, so like, have you have any experience with Mexican sorcery, Santa Muerte and stuff?
Okay, so when it comes, so when it comes to Mexican magic, I know you said at the beginning that I've experienced in Mexican magic. The truth is, I have not done too much Mexican magic because, yes, I grew up in a Mexican household, but we were very very devout and very Christian. So the traditional stuff that a lot of people grow up with in as far as like Santa Muerte and these different Mexican traditions of magic, none of that was all just kind of scrapped from the family, you know what I mean, when the family converted to Christianity. So myself growing up, I wasn't taught any of that. I kind of had to, all I was taught was the Bible, and I kind of had to find my own way from there. Other people had, um, may have had mentors in that, or maybe learned a little bit of it growing up. But, me, I was just taught the Bible growing up. And then that, based on my paranormal experiences, I kind of had to find my way in the dark and and build my magical practice from there. So, in the as far as as far as magical practices that I became familiar with, it was really mostly stuff Western and Middle Eastern, and then branching out from there. So, you know, um, I wasn't taught Mexican magic though, you know, growing up or anything like that. Though it does interest me, I will say that um, I remember there was someone that I knew had sent a shadow, some kind of spirit that was very really was out to get me and was in my home. And I remember calling on an Aztec deity, and immediately the deity acted, and you know the spirit that was sent to me to destroy me was gone right away. So I do know that, you know, the couple times that I have reached out and tried, you know, calling out to Aztec deities, they immediately respond and answer. And that's something that I plan on getting more into and studying. And I'm thinking maybe it has to do based on my ancestors, you know. Um, but I'm really going off the subject here. I forgot what the original subject was. What was your question?
So
Original.
my question
Oh
was
yeah, as far as the Mexican
basically
magic.
like what? Yeah, more about. And have you worked with Santa Muerte, by the way? Like, do you have any experiences with her?
No, no. I mean, I do have a shrine and an altar that I am setting up. Um, but I'm in the process of just kind of reading through material right now, so I couldn't say that I have a lot of experience with her. No.
Okay, so can you just like say which Aztec deity you called when your house was like under threat?
Um, it was like 5 years ago. I don't even remember the name, and it was something hard to pronounce. Something that somebody had suggested to me. But I just remember it working immediately. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head which one it was, because I'm still kind of learning the deities and the pronunciations and stuff. So I wouldn't be able to tell you off the top of my head.
Okay, okay. So basically, I just like want to say a story about how Santa Muerte helped me out, and
Mm.
also I want to tell a story about how Santa Muerte refused to help me because I was really rude in my request, and I will explain like both situations for our audience to like learn from it. So the first time I was like working with Santa Muerte like daily, and then I needed some money, and I just like asked Santa Muerte, look, Santa Muerte, like we need money. And so Santa Muerte was like, okay, I gonna do this, but it's not gonna be like a conventional way. You will get like shit, but it's not can't be money. It's gonna be different stuff you need. And so, like 3 days after that, we got like a big thing, like a reservoir for the water for a really cheap price. Because I lived in a village without like a stable water supply.
Mm.
And so we got like a really cheap reservoir for water for like a banana amount of money, like a ridiculous discount.
Hmm.
And so that was the case when I was like, okay, thank you, Santa Muerte. And then I just like called Santa Muerte after like years of not working with her. I called her to help me with something. And I asked her to just like take my life force energy and like leave to grant my request. And then she took like a little bit of my life force, but I felt she was like angry. And then she just like left. And the thing I asked for never happened. So what I get from that is that Santa Muerte really isn't about offerings and stuff. That spirit is really about like working with people. Like you cannot just like call Santa Muerte and ask her for shit unless you are in like a desperate situation. You know what I mean?
Right.
She's really about like working with people and building that connection. She's like a family spirit, like a family saint or a family deity of sorts. She is not like demons where you can just like call them and then like do a ritual and you do it like this and then Santa Muerte does it. You know, Santa Muerte is different. She works differently. And that's kind of story which will always remain engraved in my fucking mind.
Mm. Interesting.
And that's like it, you know? That's like it. And basically, what do you think about like when people work with demons, right? What is the thing they should know? The first thing they should like pay attention to when people work with demons.
Yeah. I would say if you're going to make sure that you know what you make sure you're very clear on what your intention is, because they're not there to bullshit and beat around the bush. They're very direct, you know. Um, yeah, just make sure that you're firm but respectful at the same time. Don't be timid because you know they'll backfire on you if you're timid or shy, and they don't like that. You know, just show that you're very direct, show that you don't take any bullshit. At the same time, be respectful, and they'll respect that. That's advice that I would give to people as far as working with demons.
Okay. So maybe I am drifting off topic, right? But there's something like really important I need to say,
Yeah,
right?
go ahead.
When you do like magic, because like a lot of people ask me, like majority of people who will watch this interview will be like beginners to medium, right? So a lot of people ask me like, I do money spell, how it's gonna manifest? Well, motherfucker, like it's gonna manifest any way it can manifest. Like if you don't have like a stable source of income, or your source of income is having a ceiling, right? So it cannot grow beyond a certain point. You will have people bringing you money, right? And so money will come, but money will come through any avenue it can. And so more avenues you open, the easier it will be for the money to arrive. And so we need to like think about magic like planting a seed to.
Hello, are you there?
Yes, I am
Okay,
there. I am there.
kind of disappeared for
And
a sec. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. So we have to think about magic more like planting a seed to grow a plant than a miracle cure. Because a lot of people like think that magic works beyond all logic and reason, but it doesn't. It has its rules.
Well,
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so what do you kind of think are the rules of magic, or does it even have rules in your opinion?
It. This is what I would say is that the results will come, and it'll just seem like a coincidence, or it'll manifest in ways that seem natural, but at the same time, whatever you did kind of kickstarted it to go in that direction. Like, let me give you an example. So let's say if someone is worried about being kicked out of their apartment or their home. Um, let's say that let's say you do a spell so that so that you will be able to have a place to stay and have steady income for rent and bills and stuff like that. So let's say that the landlord comes and says, "Well, I want you out." But then, you know, maybe a few weeks later something happens to him to where he decides to be more passionate to people because someone was shitty with him. So then he'll come to you and be like, you know what? Maybe I will give you a couple more weeks or something will happen in his situation to where he'll give you some slack, and for somebody looking at that who is beginning in magic, they may see that as, oh, well, that's just something that happened in his life. And no, what you did kind of caused that to happen to him, and then the domino effect came back at you, and now you're stable. Now you're able to. You don't have to find somewhere else to go. You can, and you have time to come up with the rest of the money. That's just a simple example that I would give of how it works. I mean, if whatever you and also whatever you concentrate on, that's what you bring to you. So if somebody is constantly negative, saying, oh, I'll never be nothing, oh, I hate life, I hate this and that, then that's what they're going to get, because that's what they're focusing on. Like if something enters my mind that I don't want to happen, I'm just going to block it out and say, you know what, I'm not thinking about that I reject that thought. I won't even pay attention to it, so that if I don't focus on that, I'm not going to get that. You know what I mean?
Okay, I agree. So regarding focus, back in the day, I was like really, really against that entire law of attraction thing, right? But fundamentally now I am kind of in the middle. So I think that the majority of people really don't have enough mental and emotional strength to manifest what they are thinking about, right?
Mm.
But it is true that our imagination is directing the energy. So let's say if you are only not a magical practitioner, right, and you don't know how to like generate energy through your speech and enter those states of mind, then you can like imagine a lot of things, and I doubt shit will happen, right? But once you learn to go into those states, and once you open your throat chakra, and once you train yourself really heavily, then yes, your accidental thoughts can fuck shit up in negative direction or push it in a positive way, because you trained your like voice and everything to put you in trance and push it into reality basically. So
Mm.
yes, I was exclusively told by spirits that I should visualize more, because the energy you direct in ritual and build up in ritual is directed through your visualization. Like, you go into trance, you build up that energy, then you have to visualize for the energy to know where to go. It's like a sign in traffic for where you need to drive. You are kind of directing the energy through that vision. Well, I was specifically instructed for like people who don't know how to visualize to work on their chakras first, and then opening of certain chakras and getting to feel those centers will make them visualize stuff better, because they will learn how to go in that state. So what do you think about chakra work?
I think it's important. I think that chakras can be, like, take for instance, if let's say you're a politician and you want to go ahead and get your point across. Well, then you can make sure your throat chakra is open, and that way you'll be able to, the words will come out better. The words will manifest how you want them to. You'll get more of a desired effect. And that just goes with any area of any chakra opening, and focusing on that chakra depending on what you want to do. I do know that it is not good. Like, for some people, let's say if they leave their crown chakra open and then they walk around in, let's say, a haunted house, it's easy for spirits to attach to them and influence them in a negative way because of that. So, yeah, that's in a nutshell my opinion on chakras.
Okay. You mentioned something really interesting, which I kind of have to comment on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you said if people open their crown chakra and they walk around, they get attached and attacked by parasites. I agree with you And like you mentioned something now about crown chakra, right? Which a lot of people don't know. So basically, a lot of people, when they work with the crown, they don't actually open it and they don't make it work. They just tamper it, right? They just like push a little bit of energy into it. They kind of feel where it is and they think that's it. And like, that's one of the worst things you can do because
Yeah.
the crown chakra is like a battery which feeds the entire chakra system. And so if you just tamper with the crown, you make yourself glow like crazy on the astral plane, right? You
Mm.
all of a sudden become that beacon. And every other fuckery on the astral in the spirit world just notices, here is something interesting. Let
Yeah.
me check it out. And this is why like a lot of people get fucked when they start the chakra work. But basically, the easy way to avoid this is one, raise the sacred space around you. Two, have some patron spirit. And three, this is like really like something which I discovered accidentally, but it's really useful. When you work with the crown, you spin it a lot, right? You spin it like a lot. And then when you spin it a lot and you don't stop, what happens is you feel like enormous energy, enormous amount coming from the sky into you, filling you like a battery. And once you start getting heavy amounts of energy like that, you can't stop because then you have like a connection with the upper worlds basically, and it literally feeds you energy and gives you like a blissful euphoric state, and this is where you can like stop. If you just like tamper with the crown and you just don't do anything properly, you are just like lighting up a beacon without being ready for whatever comes. So that's like what I wanted to add. So okay, a lot of people ask me how to open the third eye. What is like your opinion on it?
Third eye. There is different ways. Um, One thing you can do is, copper. Like if you put some copper on it and you do that regularly, like let's say if you go to bed, put some copper on your third eye where it is. That'll help open it up. Um, some people will some people will ask for the assistance of a deity. Some people There's different ways of opening your third eye.
Okay, can you talk more about that copper thing? This is the first time I hear it, and like I'm really interested. Like
Yeah,
why
so
copper?
let's say some, like say some of those older pennies that tend to have a lot in it. You can actually put one on your right here and then just kind of you can put like a headband over it and then go to sleep, and that will help open it up because of the properties that are in that. You can use crystals. I know that some people will use certain crystals and kind of maybe put a point on the crystal, point it towards your third eye so that the energy will allow it to prepare it to open. Um, but yeah, that's one way of how you can open your third eye.
Okay, okay. So what is the way you use to like defend yourself from parasites? Like
So what? So first of all, um, you want to keep your home clean, because if you have a cluttered home, it's easy for parasites to be attracted to. First of all, make sure your home's clean. It is good to leave fruit out on the table. Stuff that has orange and yellow on it, which attracts happiness. So let's say you have a bowl of oranges or a bowl of bananas on a table. That's actually where that comes from, because people wanted to keep that purity, in the home, and keep parasites away. So you put, leave fruit out. Also, make sure that there's certain daily exercises, rituals that you can do to cleanse yourself. Some people do the LBRP, some people do the middle pillar ritual. As long as you're doing a regular practice to kind of keep yourself in tune. You can visualize. Also, let's say you are outside meditating and you visualize energy, the earth energy going in you and kind of flowing through your legs, and then kind of visualizing it going through your chakras and purifying them, pulling up energy from the earth and allowing the earth to purify you. And then you can push the energy back down and into the earth. One thing you can do though is if you can take a coconut and open your front door, and then get a coconut and then roll the coconut from your front door around on the floor, against the wall, go in every room until you end up at the other end of your front door. And then you take that coconut and you crack it open, and you'll see some black stuff. That's like parasitic energy, stuff that's just negative, stuff that's dragging you down, you don't need. And then you dispose of the coconut, and you may have to do that 2 or 3 times, and then crack it open, see a little more, until you finally crack a coconut open, you don't see any. That's one way to just rid all that parasitic energy from your home. So that's some pointers that I'll throw out, as far as, getting rid of parasitic energy.
Okay. So in your early posts, like when I was like a hardcore dark sorcery member, but I was like too shy to post, like 2017, 16, 15, when it
Right.
was like starting. I looked at your post that you were like heavily working with Satan in that time period, and you were like working with him a lot. So can you tell to our audience more of your experience with Satan?
Okay, so as far as Satan goes, at that time, it was more, I would say, more Levian Satanism. As far as working with Satan, I really don't have too much experience working directly with him. So if there was posts, back then, it was either something related to Levian Satanism, or it was something. Sometimes someone will send me something, and if I think that it'll be helpful and goes in dark sorcery, I'll just go ahead and post it and give credit. I'll just do that. So that's probably what that post was related to. That's so far back, I can't exactly remember exactly what it was, but that's what I'm assuming it was based on.
Okay. So how you kind of work with Belial daily? What's your like daily routine with Belial?
Basically just giving some offerings and asking him to guide me. Sometimes I could pull out the spirit board and just, kind of put it in front, and if he wants to say something to me, he will. Sometimes I'll do certain invocations, and I'll kind of say certain ends that were given to me, and kind of allow him to invoke and allow him to work on me internally. That's about it for right now. That's where I'm at with him. But I also have stuff set up to Buddha and to other deities.
Okay. So for like end of this interview, like what is something you want our audience to remember? Like what is your message for people to really know which like nails your practice and what you have to tell them?
Basically, be balanced in all you do. Just look inward and just find that passion of what defines you and how you can help someone else. I know that, you know, sometimes we go through certain things that are very hurtful, but at the same time, we go through that because we can help someone else in the process, and then will ascend. Yeah, man, just be straight up and don't take no bullshit from people. Be direct but respectful to people and spirits that you work with, and just be a straight up person, you know, in the physical world, in spiritually as well. And know who you are, know where you want to go, and just be straight up and respectful. And everything else will pretty much fall into place. Yeah, just look inward. Like, you know, the saying goes, to know yourself is the beginning of wisdom, and then just go from there, basically. But yeah,
Okay.
I'll just go ahead and also I just want to plug the YouTube channel. So go to YouTube, type in Dark Sorcery. You'll see an old English logo. Subscribe, and check us out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, Twitter/X, and Pinterest. We're on all those platforms. All you gotta do is type in Dark Sorcery, and you should see our logo pop up. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for being the guest on our show. I'm really glad to have you on. It was really enlightening experience in many aspects, and
Thanks for having me.
thank you for all of the work to create an occult community when it was actually good. Because you were really continuing in building at a time when this community was much more mature and much more educational than it is now. And your group is one of the few with decent standards. And regarding magic, maybe you and I have some disagreements. It's normal with magicians, but your work in bringing people together and when creating a better place is undeniable. And I really want to applaud you for that. You did an amazing job. And if occult community followed the path and the example you have set, we would have been in a much better place right now. Basically, over time, people drifted from your original vision and it turned into a bunch of drama and bullshit. And now we are kind of contained into our own space. But I think if more people behaved like you in the beginning behaved and created groups like Dark Sorcery, I think occult community, black magic occult community would be much bigger and we would have a much healthier atmosphere socially, and it wouldn't turn into a money grab on every step. And I just want to applaud you for that. You would forever have my respect regardless of some disagreements. And I just want to tell you that regardless of who says what, you did an amazing job. And I just want to tell you, thank you, guy.
Well,
Thank
you're
you for
welcome,
everything.
and you're very welcome, and thank you for the compliment. Thank you for the support and for complimenting the work that I've done throughout the years. It's not easy being in my position, and it can be stressful at times. But when I hear from people who, you know, like take for instance you've been helped, and other people who say, oh, articles or videos you've done have really helped me a lot, and you know that's encouraging for me to keep going, you know. And I do it to help people, and you know, to help us all ascend, you know. But thank you very much for the compliment. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you too. You really embody familial mafia aspect of Belial a lot. You have this like, let me create gang energy, and it's really obvious. So thank you for everything, and I hope we will have another shows. So
Yeah.
talk to you soon, Alfredo.
Thank you very